What's going on, everybody? Welcome to tonight's show. And tonight's topic is going to be an interesting one because it seems like every year we're seeing a lot more and more of trucking pileups during inclement weather. And I got to tell you, it's getting old, okay? If you're out there and you're driving around, if you're out there, hold on one second. Sorry about that interruption. So if you're out there and you're an over-the-road driver or a local driver or a regional driver or whatever the hell you are, you're driving during the wintertime in the northern states, you got to make the right decisions to protect yourself. It's it's your life and your career that you're putting on the line. Okay? Most of the eastern states, most of the eastern states don't have chain laws like the western states, okay? Which means that all you have to really deal with is road closures. Now, in the eastern states, they do a lot of road closures, especially Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey. They get a whiff of bad weather coming, they shut down the roads for trucks. Okay? Out in the west, they'll throw the chain lights on for you to go up and down the mountains and all that good stuff. But I don't care what side of the country you're on. If it's wintertime and you're looking at the weather and there's weather coming your direction, make the choice, the right choice, and just stay parked in the damn truck stop. Don't be a hero, okay? Don't be like, oh, you know what? This load's got to get there before payroll cuts off. I got to get this load in. Oh, my God. No. It's not worth your life or somebody else's life, okay? It's just not worth it. I don't give a shit, okay? Most companies nowadays, they're not going to force you to drive in weather like that regardless. But yet, every day on the news during the wintertime, we see pictures like the one on the thumbnail where trucks are just piled up, cars are piled up because something happened, and then just one after another, like dominoes, we have these pileups, and people get hurt, and, it shuts down the highway for God knows how long. You just gotta, look, I'll tell you a story, all right? When I was driving years ago, back in this one particular situation, me and a friend of mine, we're both going from Reno to Sacramento. And we woke up early, and we were getting ready to check out the day and see what's going on. And we saw that it was snowing, and the chain lights were on, going up on and over Donner. Okay? And we were like, well, should we do it? Should we not do it? We could wait it out. But he was like, no, I'm going to go up and over Donner. I'm going to chain up and I'm going to do it. I'm like, oh. All right. I stayed put in the truck stop and didn't do shit for the day. Okay. He left around 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning and started to head towards Donner. And, I didn't talk to him all day until later that night. He called me around 6:30, 7 o'clock, almost 12 and a half, 13 hours later, okay? And he's like, you're not going to believe it. I'm like, what happened? Are you okay? He's like, I finally made it to Sacramento. I'm like, dude, it took you 12 hours to go up and over Donner? He's like, I should have stayed in the truck stop with you. It wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it because he spent all day dealing with the chains, dealing with the weather, just to go up and over a mountain. the rules in the West are that you have to carry the chains. Okay. But with our company, thankfully, I'm not sure about your company. With our company, you need to use some common sense and say, "Hey, look, I'm not doing it." And they'll be like, "Hey, look, if you don't feel comfortable, you don't feel safe, keep the truck parked. We'd rather keep you safe than have you being cleaned up on the side of the road along with your load." It's just easier that way to reschedule a load than it is to go out there and clean one up. Okay? Let's go ahead and say hello to everybody. See what's going on in here. We've got Little Everett Yoakum, Mr. Yodelay Who himself, Ryan Sims, Mark Vars, Jimmy Sublet, JF Trucker, Rob Chester, Mark Vars, Rooster Cruiser. Let's see who else we got here. Garo Angela Santana's in the house. That's the first time I've seen that name. But yeah, I mean, it looks like all you guys are pretty much in agreement with what I'm saying here. You know, yeah, 80s down here. We're not talking about Florida, okay? Right now it's getting cold in Texas, and those guys down there. There was a pileup just outside of Amarillo, I think it was. Guys were sliding all over the place and losing control, and there was a pileup. I'm pretty sure that's where I saw today's debauchery. Let me go back and look real quick. And I'll tell you. I thought for sure that's where I saw it. Let me look. Let's see here. 12 semi-trucks pile up, leaves hundreds of drivers stranded on the highway. Mother Trucker News. Yeah, let's see. I think this was in Amarillo on the 40. When it gets cold down there in the south, man, they really don't know what they're doing. And they're out there going fast, and all it takes is one small slip, and you're done for. Done for. Okay? And that's the truth of it. Okay? Want to thank everybody for watching tonight's video. Be safe out there. All right, we're done. No, I'm just kidding. We're not done. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? So yeah, so I shared the link for the Zoom meeting for tonight if you want to join in and voice your opinion. Let's see who we got over in the Zoom so far. We got Mr. Everett Yoakum in the staging lanes. Let's go ahead and say hello to him. Can you hear me? Turn your radio down. Yeah. Hold on, let me put you on the thing here. Hold on. Yeah, there we go. There you go. Look at that pretty face. So what's up, brother?
What's up?
You tell me.
It was good. Mind doing some flexible with me?
Doing some what?
Some flexible.
Oh, here we go. The So yeah, so let's you got to do the other foot. You did that foot on the last video. You got to change it up. Got to do some stretches on the other foot. So what are you doing? What's going on with you tonight?
Nothing. Finna do a live when I get to 1,000 on TikTok.
TikTok? I thought you were doing YouTube. Which one are you doing?
Both.
Oh, okay, both. Well, which I know what your YouTube name is, but what's your TikTok one?
Yodeling Yoakum the Third.
Oh my God! You got to tell me what's the story with the yodeling? Where did this come from? What inspired you to be a yodeling master?
By sing the yodeling songs.
No, I know that, but what inspired you to what? Why do you like the yodeling? What's the gimmick?
Okay, my gimmick is the West Country, inspired by country.
Okay, that's where it started, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, Disney.
Why, in Disney they're doing yodeling?
Yeah, in 2004.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're definitely better at it than I am. That's for damn sure, brother.
Yodel, little,
Look,
the
hey,
sweetest.
I gotta give you credit where credit is due, and you can definitely yodel way better than I can yodel. So more props to you, my friend. Props to you. Let's see, what do we got going on here? Rooster Cruiser says times have changed. Companies today are more safe. Yep. Chili Dog says good evening. Mark Vars, unfortunately, our drivers are not safe-minded. Well, see, here's the thing. You look at all these pictures and news clips of these trucks being piled up on the highway, and you would think there's like 50, 60 trucks, involved in every single one of them, along with cars. Okay, they're usually the culprits behind a lot of the problem. But why are you out there if the roads are like that? Okay, if they're not plowed, if they're not treated, why are you even attempting to go down the road with the truck? It just doesn't make sense. I know that I've done it before, okay? And I think every time that I've gotten into a situation where the roads were that messy, I was trying to find somewhere to pull off immediately. Let's see who else. We got Rodney in the house. You guys can chastise me all you want over this comment, but most of it is because the younger generation of truck drivers don't know what a goddamn two-way radio. Hey, no, Rodney. Let me tell you something.
Okay.
I agree with Rodney.
Nice to be meeting you.
All right, brother. Hey, make sure you tune in for the next one, okay? We're going to be checking in on your yodeling skills, all right?
Okay.
Okay.
Yodeling out of here.
Later, brother. But yeah, so guys, the what do you call it here? The freaking what do you call it? Hold on, let me go back to the screen. Here's the link to join in and talk with me on video chat in front of everybody if you want about what we're talking about here. Go ahead and click the link, join in on the debauchery in video form if you want. But Rodney's right, man. This whole two-way radio thing is a little ridiculous because not a lot of truck drivers today, in today's era, and today's upbringing of truck driver, they don't have freaking CB radios in their trucks. Okay? That should be one of the things that should be made mandatory for a truck to have. Okay? And I can tell you right now, a lot of times on the radios, you hear a lot of people cursing and screaming and yelling racial slurs and, but hey, we had fun on the CB. I made CB prank videos and stuff. But I can tell you right now, when you have a weather situation or an accident situation, having that radio, it could save you your life and a hell of a lot of time and money. Just by having that little radio. And you don't need to have nothing crazy and hopped up with crazy antennas and microphones and stuff like that. You just need a basic CB radio. That way you can turn it on, and say, hey, look, what's going on up ahead? It's kind of crappy out. And you can get the 411 on the situation. Stewart Hobby Truck says, no surprise there is more accidents with the turnover rate of drivers these days, crappy training programs, and less experience in the seat. That's also correct, Stuart. There's a lot of people that don't do proper training. Okay, a lot of people that are getting into this industry for the wrong reasons. Okay, and they're not taking it seriously. And tie that in with the lack of training. It's a combination for disaster. So, yeah, I agree with you as well. Got Mr. Bush in the house, Patrick, Tyler says common sense, keep check of the weather all days regardless of what you're doing. Yeah, look, it's all a part of your trip planning. If you think about it, checking for weather on the route that you're going to take is part of the trip planning process, folks. Okay, especially in the freaking wintertime. Okay? Especially in the wintertime. Joyride candy cane, your candy cane. Yeah. That was a good movie right there. That was a great trucking movie. Candy Cane. What was his name? Gus, what was it? There was Candy Cane, and what was his name? I can't remember. I haven't seen that movie in a while. What was his handle? I can't remember. Oh man, but I'll tell you, no point in trying to be a freaking hero. Okay, because here's another thing too. Okay, that you got to count into the mix. You may be, rusty jaw. I don't think that was it. Danny Kaye was this rusty. I don't think that was it, but I don't know. I have to look it up. Here's the thing too. Like you could be a fucking hero, right? Thinking you're a badass and take your time and make it there, right? Make it to your delivery or pickup, whatever whatever it is. And you can go and pull into the dock, right, to get loaded or unloaded. And I remember this as a kid. I used to work at a grocery store as a kid. 14 years old. I was working in the dairy department. And we had a truck come in late at night, and he backed into the door, and he was getting unloaded. And by the, it was time to leave. There was snowing real bad, and the loading dock was full of ice and snow, and the truck couldn't get out of the friggin' loading dock. Didn't matter how we had to waste 20 bags of cat litter to drop down in front of the guy's tires so he can get enough momentum and traction to get out of the friggin' loading dock. Now, stores are supposed to be responsible to make sure loading docks are clear for trucks to get in and out of, but we all know how it is. We've seen loading docks, okay? We know that they're all shit. Sometimes they're full of freaking rainwater. You got to go out there and freaking chalk your wheels, and there's 2 feet of freaking rainwater. I've done that before. That was about the only time I ever put flip-flops on in a trucking situation other than leaving or going to the shower. Because I was they're like, yeah, we'll make sure you chalk your wheels, okay? And I'm like, dude, your loading dock is full of water. They're like, yeah, sorry. And I'm like, I could have been an asshole and said, no, I'm not chalking my tires, screw you. But I was like, no, you know what? I don't want to cause no trouble. I'll put my flip-flops on and go for a wadding through the garbage water, the dirty water. Disgusting. Went and chalked my wheels with my flip-flops on, jumped back in the truck, dried my feet off, cleaned my feet off, and they unloaded my truck. Those guys running settlement to settlement bought into their lease purchase malarkey. No, hey, look, our company has lease and lease purchase program, okay, but that has nothing to do with being safe, okay? If you could live paycheck to paycheck as a company driver, okay? That's a whole nother topic about managing money. And we talked a little bit about that in the last video, about how to be smart and maximize your income and save some money, put it aside for those rainy days, those rainy weekends, those holidays where you want to go home and stuff like that, You got to plan ahead. You got to be like a squirrel and gather all your nuts before the winter hits and for hibernation, you know what I mean? Like I said, if you're running your truck smart, okay, and everything, you're doing what you're supposed to do, there's absolutely no reason why you should be pressured into driving in a situation where it's going to be unsafe for you. It's that simple. Just park the truck. Say, hey, look, I'm going to wait for the weather to die down, and then we'll hit it. Reschedule the friggin' load. It's not worth it. I've done it plenty of times. There was one time where I was driving north on the 25 coming out of Denver, I think it was. And where the hell was I? I think I was up near Casper. Let me look. Let me look where I was. I'll tell you exactly where I was. Let me pull it up here real quick on the map. Show you exactly where I was. Because the 80 was shut down in Cheyenne. I had to go to Idaho, okay? And the 80 was shut down going west, all right? It was shut down going all the way, you know how it is. Every wintertime, the 80 is shut down all the way up to Rock Springs or further. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go up and over. I was going to take 25 all the way to the 90. right? And then come back down into frickin' let's see, where was I going that time? I can't remember. Maybe I don't remember where I was going. I think I was going to Idaho somewhere. I can't remember. Anyway, but my plan was to go up and over because I didn't want to wait 3 days for them to open up the 80. I wanted to try, but as soon as I got north of Wyoming, Cheyenne there, I was up near Wheatland, in between Casper and Wheatland, okay? And it was starting to get real fucking windy. And this is back when I was driving my white Volvo, okay? And it was so sketch and scary. And it was like the first time. And I had been driving now for 7 years. So I was like my 7 year mark. And I was fucking scared for the first time. I was legitimately scared. I was white knuckled, okay? And there was a Swift truck in front of me. And we were going as fast as we could to try to get through it. I was loaded. I don't know if he was loaded or not. He had a lock on his trailer and a seal, so I don't know how heavy he was. I know I was heavy, so I knew I was going to be all right. You see those signs that say rollover risk, anything lower than a certain amount of weight, get off the road, type situation. But I knew I was okay, but still, I mean, I was holding my steering wheel like this. Instead of holding it centered, I was holding it like this to try to fight the wind. And every time the wind gust would come and you're trying to hold on to it, it's sketchy, man. The damn Swift truck in front of me, his trailer was starting to slide off the road. And that's when I was like, yep, well, this is bullshit. There's no way. I pulled off at the next exit and found this little tiny truck stop. I even went live. I went live that day when I pulled into that truck stop to show everybody, hey, look, this is no good, not safe. And it was bad. I mean, I was sitting there in the truck stop, and the truck was just going back and forth, and you could see it in the video. Another time that I got delayed because the weather was they shut down the road. They're like, yo, you can't. It's too windy. We got somebody coming in here on the Zoom. Hold on, let me see who's this. Mr. Colonel Fox is coming in. Hey, turn down your radio. And turn on your camera. Can't see your face.
I'm figuring this out.
Yeah. Hold on, let me get him up on the screen here.
Dark video.
Here we go. There you go. There's your pretty face. So what's up, brother? What's the good word, man? What do you think about winter driving and knowing when not to drive? What's your 2 cents?
Sucks balls.
It does, but I mean, don't you agree with me on the topic? Like, hey, look, if it's bad or it's gonna get bad, then just wait it out.
Yeah, if you can. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to figure out how to turn my camera on to show you what I'm looking at. There we go. There you go.
Where are you at?
I'm in DeSoto, Texas, which is south of Dallas, at the Walmart DC, camping out.
South of Dallas?
Yeah, just south of Dallas.
That's south of Dallas, and there's snow on the ground like that?
That's freaking ice.
Bro, that means everybody's losing their mind out there in Texas, bro. You better be very careful.
Look at this shit. That's literally ice.
Nah, that's no bueno right there, driver.
Tell me about it. I had to drive up here this morning from Georgetown over there in Austin, Texas. They had me taking this load up here. I told them, my home DC New Brunswick, like, yo, can I drop this load and just get like going south? Nope. Continue driving. If you don't feel safe, stop and do weather downtime. It was fine up at Georgetown last night. This morning, I was counting accidents. I counted 7 accidents, including a jackknife big rig in the embankment on the freeway. A sedan slid out off the road right in front of me. It was crazy. There was a pickup truck that flipped over on the southbound side. By the time I got up here to the Dallas area, the fast lane was covered in ice. I had to stay in the slow lanes. We were doing like 40 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's pretty sketchy when you got snow and ice like that south of Dallas. That means. Yeah, I remember, what was it, 2 years ago when they had all that ice in Houston and everybody's pipes were bursting and everything? Crazy, especially for Texas.
And then we got ice and stuff up all the way down in San Antonio. That's where I'm from, is San Antonio, and they closed the schools. My niece lives with me, and her school sent me a text message and an automated phone call this morning. And school's closed, and I got another message this evening saying we close tomorrow too.
Yeah, I think that's where one of the pileups that Mother Trucker News put out this morning on his video, where they had the 40.
He was talking about the one over in Van Horn, over where I-10 and I-20 intersect.
That's even further south. That's crazy if you think about it.
Well, that's actually West Texas.
Yeah, but even still,
that's west of San Antonio.
I remember I was coming across 10, into Las Cruces one time, and there was ice and snow, and it was sketch, man. It was so sketchy. And what was it? Over the summertime, I think it was. Maybe it was, when was this? This was in I don't know, June or July, I think it was. I had to bring a truck from California to Houston, and there was, it was the first time I ever saw rainwater puddled up. Everything was full of water, and usually it's all desert out there, dry, and, but this is first time ever that I've ever seen water, like, everywhere, not draining, So.
Yeah. Well, the problem with Texas is we don't have plows or salt trucks out here. We only just started getting those de-icing, the stuff that sprays that, what is that crap? The
salt and stuff, yeah.
Salt spray stuff, the salt water or whatever.
Yeah.
The de-icer, we only just started getting those like 2 years ago. We don't have like any plows at all. When I was living in Odessa, we had a major snowstorm come through. They were using construction vehicles to plow the snow off the freeway.
I know. And that's what happens. It sucks, it really hasn't been an issue, 20, 30 years, but lately, since I think the early 2000s, every winter or every other or third winter, Texas gets a beating,
Yeah. Well, was it not last year, but the year before, we had snowpocalypse?
Yep.
I was driving for a different company back then. They paid me to stay home.
Yeah,
it happened while I was on home time, and I was driving from March, and they have inclement weather downtime pay. It was like $20 an hour, $20 a day.
That's great.
And I was already home. So my home time ended. They said for me to stay put until it clears up. So I got paid to stay home.
Can't beat that, brother. Cannot beat that.
Can't. But Walmart here, man, they're crazy. They wanted me from this DeSoto, DC here to go and pick up a load in Fort Worth, a load of water to take up to their DC in Sanger, which is just north of Fort Worth. And I was like, no.
Well, you're driving.
I don't know, coming to DeSoto.
You're driving for Walmart, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. I'm surprised they even asked you to do that. That's nuts.
Yeah, they said if the roads aren't safe, to just shut it down, and it's like until the roads are clear. Because I asked them, it's like, can we take this off me and give me something going south, or at least even just heading back to New Braunfels empty? I know you can do it because you've sent me from Fort Worth to New Braunfels empty multiple times recently.
Yeah.
Just like 3 weeks ago they did to me. And so I know they were going to do it normally, but this time they would not budge. And they're like, if you don't feel safe to drive, just stay put there until it clears up. I'm like, listen, the weather warning doesn't expire till 6 a.m. Thursday. And we don't have plows or salt trucks. You want me to sit here till Thursday morning?
Yeah, and if the truck stop looks like that, that means the roads are looking exactly the same. And,
This isn't a truck stop. Actually, this is the DeSoto, it's like a cross dock DC. They get loads in and they pretty much transfer them over to trucks, and then they go to other DCs from there. And they're actually, the main warehouse is closed. We don't have anybody here except for asset protection at the gate.
So how are you how are you going to get unloaded and all that good stuff?
Oh, it's a drop and hook.
Oh, okay. Well, then you're stuck there for the night then.
That was fun in its own right. Back in the trailer into a spot, I kept sliding out and having to kind of reset because my trailer could be all like 45 degrees before I wanted it.
Yeah,
that was
sucks.
Crazy. And then on the way checking in, there was a dark driver. She said she was brand new to driving, never been in this kind of weather before. And she got stuck at the gate. Her tires were spinning out on her. She was like, what do I do? I've never been in this before.
Oh God.
And I told her, it's like, do you have a interaxle lock on your truck? She's like, I don't know what that is. She's like, hold on a second. So I took a picture of my truck with my phone and showed her. Said, I don't know if I have it or not, but I can try that. I was like, try that, because that'll basically, in a matter of speaking, give you like 4-wheel drive, give you extra wheels to spin.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't work, try going backwards a couple inches and then going forward.
Yeah, you got to get some. You got to get some momentum.
Yeah, and a mixture of the two, and she was able to get going. So
Crazy.
you're lucky I knew how to do that.
Well, not only that, but you got to have common sense. When it comes to driving in general. In a situation like that, but a lot of people, don't have that common sense and or that driving savvy, if you will. Like, I grew up playing video games, and you could learn a lot from a video game. Sliding around in the video game, and stuff.
Tokyo drifting.
Yeah, but like, I mean, if you've never done anything like that before, and then again, don't have the experience in the weather to drive. I remember when I was first learning to drive, and I had my learner's permit. I was still living in Jersey at the time, and my dad took me out to an empty parking lot, and he was like, "Just drive." And it was covered in ice, and snow. It was a front-wheel drive car, so I really didn't have, it wasn't like I was fishtailing a lot, but he wanted me to understand the characteristics of the car in an out of control, in an out of control situation, And
That's good.
if you've never done anything like that, and like for instance, like my wife, for instance, she grew up in Florida, never driven in the snow. Yeah, never drove in the snow in a day in her life, and then here we are up in Pennsylvania now, and she won't go near it, like, and I don't want her to, because there's a lot of hills up where I live, and you don't even need a hill. I remember one time we were driving, it was a little front wheel drive car back in the day. We had a little Kia Spectra, and there was all this fresh snow we were in Long Island going to my aunt's house, and the roads were covered in snow, and I was going too fast, and I was coming into a turn. And you know how it is. You have the wheels turned, but the car still wants to go straight, So, like I said, thankfully I had half a brain on me, and kind of knew from experience and playing video games. She starts freaking out. We're sliding towards the curb, doing like 20 miles an hour. Car's not stopping. Car's not turning. So what did I do? I went and yanked on the emergency brake to kick the car sideways a little bit so I can turn, a little bit. And thankfully it worked. And I was able to turn the car into the turn instead of not sliding straight, but
I don't work on modern day cars though. Nowadays they have those
I know.
Push button emergency brakes. You can't do the power slide or anything. They won't even kick on the emergency brake if you're moving. I'm going to show you. There is one good thing about Walmart right now that I am very thankful for. I don't know how well you'll be able to see this here. These are the blue things on my shoe.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Yeah, they call them ice cleats there, and our safety department, as soon as anywhere near winter conditions hit, safety sent out messages at least on a weekly basis saying, make sure you have ice cleats, it's that time of the year again, all you got to do is come to safety and ask for them, they'll give them to you, and hey, you just strap them over your shoe there, like a sock in a sort, and I showed you all that ice there. I just got back from going to the restroom in the DC, and it's sheet of ice. I was like, man, if I didn't have these cleats, I'd be ice skating to the bathroom.
I don't remember which arm it was, but I remember one time I was driving for Raven doing the local stuff, and I got stuck on the highway on 65 South going into Kentucky, and I got to the truck stop, and I was walking inside, and I slipped and fell on the ice and scratched my whole arm up. And, I was going slow, but still, I just lost my balance and ate it, And it sucks.
I remember one of my first winters back when I was with Knight, I was doing a load. Where was I? I think I was either in Virginia or North Carolina, somewhere around that range there. I was heading south. I think I was heading south, and I was at see if you know where this. If you were in West where this was a pilot. And they had this like covered bridge walkway from the parking lot to the main building. I don't know if you if
What
you know.
state is this in?
Sure, you've been there. You like me have been just about everywhere.
What state?
It was like Virginia or North Carolina, I think.
On 81?
No, one of the ones. This was like 7 years ago, so I can't hardly remember anymore. But
I do know. I do know what you're talking about. There's a lot of truck stops that have a lot of sketchy walkways. Like I know the one, where is it, in Maryland on 81, and to get from the fuel lanes to the actual store, you got to walk up like, I don't know. It's like 4 flights of steps. You know.
I know which one you're talking about. I've been to that one too. No, this one it was from the parking lot, not the fueling area, but the parking lot. Or I think the fuel area did too. Yeah, it was fuel area and the parking area, and then they had it was like a wooden covered bridge pathway that went like kind of through the trees to the main building, and it was kind of cool, But to make a long story short, to get to the point, one morning I was walking from my truck to go in the store to perform the morning ritual, and I fell on my ass twice.
Oh God, that sucks. That's not.
I wasn't the only one because there was other people slipping and sliding because the whole parking lot was a sheet of ice.
Yeah, and that sucks too. Especially in truck stops. Because it's hard for them to get in there and plow and prep the.
Well, especially because this was what happened is there was a freezing rainstorm hit that night, so it wasn't even snow. It was just the night before it was dry, everything was normal. Then overnight, freezing rain came down, coated the entire parking lot in ice.
Yeah, and that's the worst. That's even worse.
And you can't really plow that. All you can do is you can throw the salt on it and try to melt it, but it takes a while.
Yeah, if they don't have it prepped the night before or before the storm hits, then there's just no point. It's going to be a mess. So.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do here. I mean, it's like I'm hoping that come tomorrow morning they'll pull that load off me and tell me to come back empty or something.
Well,
I actually got a couple messages on our tablet here. Got one here. It came at, what is this, 1744. It's 5:44 Central Time. Saying driver reports road closure all lanes due to traffic accident on I-35.
What town are you in right now?
76.
What town are you in right now?
Right now I'm in DeSoto.
Let's see.
Yeah, look at the Google Maps of that area and look at all the red closures and everything.
Wow, it's 27 degrees and cloudy right now. And let's see here. Let's see what the weather. Yeah, you're going to have snow tonight, snow tomorrow, and snow Thursday. And it's not going to get sunny and warm or kind of warm until Friday.
Yeah, and I'm supposed to go home on Thursday. I work one of those 6-3 schedules, so I'm on for 6, home for 3. And yeah, Thursday's my go-home day.
90%.
My mom was telling my mother about it, and she's all like, what do you do if you don't get home on time? Do they pay you overtime or something? I don't know. I've never had it happen.
You got 20% chance tonight. You got 90% chance of snow tomorrow and 70% chance of snow on Thursday. My goodness. It's gonna be a mess. It's gonna be a mess. And they're calling for freezing rain most of the time. So yeah.
And that's what I was dealing with all day today was freezing rain.
And that's another thing too, guys, and gals. When you're traveling out here in these roads that have, this winter weather advisories, and you're going to be in that area, or heading to an area where you're going to have snow and ice, you got to prep. You got to make sure you got food in your truck. You got to make sure you have some extra clothes, an extra jacket, a blanket, something. You got
something like this.
Yeah, something. You got to be prepared.
0 degrees. If not colder, and they make it down to like -30. It's hard to find that. You usually find that in more northern states, but at least get that 0 degree stuff.
Yep.
Because then when you start getting that freezing rain and your windshield wipers getting all stuck up with ice, camera back around. Yeah, that stuff will melt the ice. Make it so you can see again. Because it's
You gotta make sure. I did a video on how to hat there. Yeah. I did a video a while back on how to keep your wiper lines from freezing. And if you're you used to having regular old wiper fluid in your truck and you don't have that all season stuff in there, just take some rubbing alcohol and dump it into your washer tank and have it mix with.
I tried that. It didn't work very well for me.
Well, if your shit's already frozen.
I tried the rubbing alcohol. I put like 3 or 4 bottles of that rubbing alcohol in once, and it worked okay, but it wasn't as good as actual de-icing windshield washer fluid. I think there's something that's a different chemical in this stuff, something that's poisonous.
Oh yeah, it's all poisonous.
Poison.
But you got to remember, if your stuff is already frozen, the lines are already frozen, you're screwed. I don't care what you put in there.
Because it's got methyl alcohol.
Yeah. If it's all, like I said, but if it's already frozen, if your lines are already frozen, you're kind of SOL,
Yeah, I've had that happen too. I remember once when I was driving in Pennsylvania, actually. What's that big city on the western side? Pittsburgh?
Yeah, Pittsburgh's a pain in the ass to drive through in the snow.
Yeah, well, I was driving across the toll road there in the Pittsburgh area, and I didn't have the all-season stuff, and my wiper lines, they froze over, and it got so bad I had to pull over and just scrape the ice off my window and everything.
That's crazy.
You heard those heated wiper blades?
I don't know. I even in my Western Star, I had the heated windshield with the defroster lines in it. And the only thing that it was good for was where the defroster lines were, on the outside edges of the windshield.
Well, what I'm talking about is the actual wiper blades have a heating element on them.
Yeah, I've heard.
I see them for sale at like Gats and Mats. I always wanted to buy a pair, but they were expensive. They were like
they're expensive. They're expensive, and it's just like I said. If you don't have the lines prepped with that winterized wiper fluid, then having the heated windshield wipers isn't going to do shit,
Well, I think the purpose of that is to help prevent any ice building up on the blades.
Yeah, but even still, if you think about it, once the pre-treated wiper fluid hits the blades, it's supposed to de-ice those blades. So, in my opinion, having the heated wiper blades is just a luxury, because if your defrosters are working properly and, you've got the proper stuff in the lines already, then you should have no issues.
Well, my defrosters weren't working properly then. Because, on the way up here, my blades were freezing, even with the de-icer spraying. But, a lot of these, the sprayers on these trucks are like horribly aimed.
Oh yeah.
You'll turn it on and it'll never spray the part of the windshield you want it to wash.
Well, that's another thing too. We talk about truck maintenance and taking care of your equipment. If you don't get in there and clean those little nozzles out every now and again, they're gonna spray like shit regardless.
Well, mine aren't clogged. That's not the issue. They're not aimed in a way that makes them ideal. They tend to spray all over my mirrors, and then they just don't cover the windshield. On this particular truck, it's not too bad, but my other truck that I drive, because Walmart, we slip seat, and I have 2 trucks that I drive on my schedule. And the other one I drive, this is a 2020, my other one's a 2022. And the 22, it's crap.
Yeah.
I hardly use the wiper spray because of it.
Well, all I can tell you is that being prepared is 70% of the battle when it comes to winter driving. And if you're not prepared, you ain't gonna make it. It's that simple. You gotta have gotta have your equipment prepared. You gotta have your truck prepared. You gotta have, like I said, you gotta have supplies. Case of water, some canned goods, some extra socks, extra shoes, a jacket. All. Have that stuff with you, especially in the wintertime, Have those ice cleats for your shoes, because I don't care, what type of... when I slipped and fell, I was wearing boots.
Mm-hmm.
Still
Still
slipped and fell.
Sole, it's going to slip and slide on the ice. Rubber and ice, they don't mix.
Nope. Nope.
That's why cars slide, because they're rubber tires.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It
doesn't matter what kind of shoes you have, you're going to slide. Unless you're wearing You know, like these cleats, or you got, I don't know, I can't think of an example. Some kind of, soccer shoes or rubber cleats. That wouldn't work either.
Yep, you ain't kidding. But yeah, no, I mean it's ridiculous because um, the weather sucks, in the wintertime, and it messes up a lot of shit. But the main thing is that you shouldn't put yourself at risk. And we keep seeing these pileups happening, and if the roads are that bad, you shouldn't be on them. It's just that simple. There's no reason to be out there doing. And you see the pileups, and then you see these videos of the pileups happening from people's cell phones, and these guys are doing 50, 60 miles an hour into a pileup, and it's like, dude, what were you doing 50, 60 miles an hour in the first place?
Yeah, I won't lie. I was doing about 55 miles an hour most of the way up here, but the roads weren't icy when when I was doing that. As soon as the roads started getting slushy or looking bad, or I even felt it like starting to slide a little bit, like any kind of loss of traction, I slowed down. And unlike all the other truck drivers out there, I know the value of the engine brake.
Yeah,
There's so many truckers out there that were hitting the brakes going down the hill, and it's all like, I hope you don't hit a patch of ice in front of me.
And that's the thing too. You got to be careful with that engine brake, because that will make your tractor spin out before the trailer spins out sometimes,
I don't have that problem too much. I know there's a difference between like an actual Jake brake and then what most trucks have now. There's a regular engine brake.
No, it's the same thing. It's all the same. It's all the same system.
Is it?
Yep.
Because that's what the engine brake does on this truck. It basically just kicks your transmission to a lower gear, and that raises the RPMs and slows you down that way.
No. The way the an engine brake or Jake brake, it's the same thing. It's just a different name. Then what it does is it opens up the exhaust valves, or no, I think it closes the exhaust valves and recirculates. I can't remember how the process works, but it works to where it's putting back pressure on the engine and creating, how do I word it scientifically? But basically, the exhaust valves close, and the what do you call it? The blow off valve on the turbo stays open, I think, or it could be the other way around. I can't remember the science of it, but
it sounds all too fancy for a Walmart truck.
Well, all trucks have them. All trucks have them. The thing is when to use them and when not to use them. It all depends on if you're loaded or not. If you're empty. If you're on.
I had about 45,000 pounds. I wasn't loaded very heavy.
If you're
what the hell I hold?
If you're going down a hill or up, So the trick is they say not to use the engine brake, number one, when you're empty, and if you're on flat ground, because, if you're empty and there's not enough weight on those tires, it could essentially make those tires lock up in a sense. And when the tractor locks up, and it's happened to me plenty of times, when I was driving my Western Star, I did a video of this a couple of years back when I first got the Western Star, and I was pulling out of an Amazon DC with an empty Amazon trailer, getting onto the interstate, and I was on the overpass making the left turn, and out of my right mirror, I see the trailer starting to come around, and I'm like, well, fuck, what do I do now? And like I said, thankfully I know how to drive. Instead of me hitting the brakes, I hit the throttle, and was able to kick the trailer back under where it was supposed to be, but had I hit the brakes, it would have just sent that trailer all the way around. You know what I mean? And then I would have.
Am I correct in assuming you needed a change of underwear for that experience?
It was definitely a butt puckering situation, but I didn't have to change my underwear, thankfully. But I was like, I was like, and I wasn't even going fast. I was doing maybe 10 miles an hour. The light turned green, started to go, and I got just barely into the turn. But I was going too fast, and the trailer was like, nope, I'm coming around. And I saw it I felt it first. And then I saw in the mirror, and sure enough, the trailer was coming around and sliding as I was going forward. And I was like, well, there's only one way to I had to gas it out, and get out, to give it a little more to straighten it back out. Because, like I said, if you're in a situation where you see your trailer in the mirror coming around, do not slam on the brakes. Do not. I mean, that you could. There's other things you could do if you have it in your truck. You could yank on the trolley brake. Yank on the trolley brake, which will lock up the trailer brakes instead of the tractor brakes, and that could help straighten it back out. But like I said, in a situation like that, split second decisions, you got to hope to make the right one. And thankfully there wasn't anybody on the road, so I blipped the throttle a little bit to kind of get it going, and was able to straighten it back out. But like I said, do not be one of those people that slam on the brakes, because you'll only make the situation worse. Simple as that.
Yeah, times like these are where I can appreciate the companies that actually put you through like winter training. Like, what's that one?
Well, Prime does it. I know that for sure.
I was trying to think of a different one. Stevens Transport. I never worked for them, but I've heard of their training program and can really say I got a lot of respect for them for it. Like, they make all their new drivers, the ones that don't have prior experience, go through actual mountain driving. They don't let them use the engine brake going down the mountain unless they absolutely have to, like the natural emergency.
Yeah.
Because they want the drivers to learn how to control the truck. And it's like things like that. That is good knowledge to have that they just don't teach us.
No, and there's a lot of companies that don't train properly and don't enforce the proper training. They just get them in, get them out type situation. And that's not good, because here we see pictures like in the thumbnail here of guys that are just plowing into each other and causing a pile up because of one, and like I said, it's easier in a sense to slide out in a tractor trailer than it is in a car in a lot of situations, especially nowadays.
Two different parts for one thing. We got the trailer and then the truck. So it's like one starts sliding, then the other goes with it. And a lot of us, I've never, jackknifed before myself, or really come even as close as you did to jackknifing. So honestly, it's easy to say you know what to do, but when the situation actually happens, will you be able to remember that in a split second?
Yeah, you got to, like I said, split second decisions. I don't care how much experience you have, how much training you have, you got to be able to make the right decision.
And then you have these newer trucks that are like so computerized that you have little control. Like, I can mash the accelerator down and it makes no difference between if I pushed it a quarter inch down or I floor it. It makes no difference.
Yeah.
Because it's all computerized.
Well, you got the traction.
Your truck was probably a lot more mechanical. Your Western Star was probably a lot more mechanical.
It was.
For one thing, it was a manual.
Yeah.
So you probably had a lot more control over it. I was still in newer trucks. I'm sure it still had a pretty good degree of computerized bit to it. It's nothing like, the glory days of trucking when the computer was unheard of.
Well, you got to remember too, all these trucks, newer trucks, even my truck comes with traction control. And like you were saying, you could blip the throttle, half or full, and the traction control is going to kick in and stop those wheels from spinning. But sometimes, like you were saying before, the girl that got stuck at the gate, sometimes you need those wheels to spin. And you got to be smart enough to know how to turn the traction control system off.
Yeah.
And
I didn't think about that. I probably could have advised her to that button too. The ATC spin button is labeled on mine. I didn't even think about that one.
Yeah, because I've seen it so many times where guys are stuck in a parking spot at a truck stop in the ice. And they didn't turn the traction control off. And the tires start to spin, and then you hear the traction control kick in, and the air valves open up, and the tires, you don't get enough momentum, and it stops, and then you need them to spin. And like I said, you got to learn how to rock the truck back and forth. You got to be able to feel it. Okay, it's like, okay, look, I'm getting traction here, and I start to roll forward, and that's when I lose traction and start to spin, get off the throttle, let it roll back, and then get back in it and rock back and forth until you get enough momentum and you start to come out of it. And you need to turn the traction control system off in order to do that successfully. A lot of trucks have the traction control button, and then they have what's an off-road button, on them. You need to disable all that bullshit.
Right here,
So that-
ATC spin the traction control, and then at the interaxle lock right there.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. The interaxle lock, you got to
really
be
annoying. Hill start assist.
yeah, you got to be smart enough to know if you're going to use that if your truck comes with the interlock axles, only use it. A lot of people will turn it on to get out of a situation, but they'll forget to turn it off.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll be, and they'll wonder yeah, and then they wonder.
I'm partially guilty. I didn't mean to have it turned on, but the other day I looked down and I saw it lit up. I was like, when did I turn that on? I didn't even need it. I think I might have bumped it when I hit my kingpin release.
Well,
I don't know how long I drove it on, but
that's another thing too. It won't turn on. The light might turn on the switch, but it won't engage unless you're at a complete stop. And then a lot of the trucks will self disengage after like 20 miles an hour.
That the computerized truck that I was talking about.
Exactly.
There's safety features preventing you from destroying your truck.
Exactly. So you got to.
New drivers would.
but that's what like we were talking about before. You got to be smarter than the truck. You have to be, because if you're just going to rely on the truck's safety systems, there's no way you're going to get out of a jam. You're going to be screwed, because of lack of experience and lack of training,
Yeah. We really do need more winter training from companies, I'm a little bit concerned. You heard about Walmart is going to start allowing the store associates to become drivers. I'm a little bit concerned about it because they only have to have like 1 year of experience working for Walmart, no driving experience at all, and they're going to basically train them to get their CDL for like 12 weeks. And then they'll put them with a mentor, for the standard hiring time frame, which is like 2 or 3 weeks. And then, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, they're a Walmart truck driver. It's like,
well, I mean, that's how a lot of companies do it. A lot of companies will pay for the training, put you with a trainer for X amount of miles or months or weeks or whatever, and then they'll cut you loose. And I've said this.
We're talking about Walmart here, which prides itself on its safety, and they require normally drivers to have 30 months of experience driving, and here they're going to hire store associates. Nothing against store associates. If you want to be a driver, you want to be a driver. I get it's expensive, and I get that. But there's the issue of the lack of driving experience they're going to have before being set loose, and then the other issue is the fact that us drivers who came in with 30 plus months of experience, we had to earn that right.
Well, yeah, don't get me wrong. What's good for the goose is good for the gander at that particular situation. If these guys want to go out and get their licenses and the company's going to pay for the training and yada, 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 then great. And I've always said this too, you don't get enough experience when you're with a trainer. That's why I always say when you're with a trainer and you're in training mode, ask questions, okay? Ask lots of questions, okay? If you're not asking questions and you're just out there being a steering wheel holder, you're going to have issues when you get cut loose on your own. And regardless of how good the trainer was and all this other good stuff, you're not going to really learn until you're on your own anyway. You're going to have to go through some experiences in order to really gain the experience, because when you're with a trainer, it's a whole different mindset. It's a whole different atmosphere. The routes are planned 90% of the time, from dispatch. Everything is planned, but it's until you get out on your own. I don't care if you're over the road or you're local or whatever. You're not going to be able to get real experience until you're out there on your own for a year or two, and you've traveled the country, in different types of weather conditions. So
I agree.
I agree. I learned. I'll always say this. Thankfully, I had a great trainer when I was at Werner, Mr. Trainer James himself. And he was like I said, it was a blessing. Back in 2012, and probably still today, there's companies where these students are with multiple trainers throughout their training course because of whatever reasons. Maybe that trainer wasn't working out, or that trainer had to go on home time, so they put you with a different trainer, and now you're learning stuff from.
Or you get my situation where you get a trainer who didn't teach you how to back.
Yeah, that's
that
even
was my
yeah.
situation. My trainer basically used me for extra miles. He had me drive, until I was too tired to drive anymore, which for me was usually around 10 hours. And, then he'd take over and he'd drive and then so forth. He did almost all the backing. He only let me practice at a truck stop like once or twice. And by the time I was done with the quote unquote training, I still didn't know how to back a trailer and I couldn't, pass the test or anything. I didn't feel even remotely confident. And so they put me with one of their local drivers there out of Katy, Texas.
Yep.
And he tried to help me a little bit, but he was really busy with his local assignments, so he didn't really have time to help me much. So no beef against him, It's like he wanted to help. It just I'm busy with what I got to do. I don't have time to train a driver. So then they put me with a third guy who was another local driver, and he had a bit more of a relaxed route. He did mostly the Sam's Club account out there. And he taught me a method of backing. I don't know what you call this method. I never learned the different, names. But he taught me his method that I use to this day, where you basically, you pull up, a couple feet away from the truck or trailer, the spot. And then you go about till your door is, I'd say, one or two trucks ahead, and you cut it all the way over to the right and then backward to the left. And that puts your trailer about a 45-degree angle, and then, you start backing in. And long story short, that method is what I do to this day. Though I will say Walmart is a little bit different.
Well, then again, it's all about your truck and also where you have your tandems. I mean, if you're going to go and back into a spot, at every single Walmart DC out there, they say they want your tandems to the back when you're in the door. Okay, but I don't slide my tandems until I'm lined up straight in the parking spot.
Yeah, the DCs, the Walmart DCs, they don't care for us drivers. They don't tell us ever to mess with the tandems. But everyone, when I was with third-party carriers, I don't think they ever. I think I only went to one where they had me slide the tandems before entering the property. But my advice to anyone else who's going to Walmart DCs. I personally find it easiest to back into spots if my tandems are about midpoint.
Well, yeah. I mean, my opinion is if you have the ability to leave the tandems where you want them during the backing, from you going from the guard shack to the door, leave them as far forward as you can, so that way you'll have that offset, that swing. Because
that's the thing, though. That tail swing, that can be murder at the Walmart DC.
It can be, but
you're asking to hit another trailer or worse, another person's truck with that tail swing there.
See, but that's the thing. That's the thing. Like you were saying, it goes to the training. If you have the proper training and you get out and look, which not a lot of people do, they don't get out and look. They don't check themselves. They don't actually stop and say.
I'd be guilty of that.
Well, yeah, we all are, but it all comes down. It comes down to the experience level. If okay, hey, look, my trailer is hanging over, X amount of feet. You got to say to yourself, okay, that trailer is going to be either really close to the other truck in the opposite lane that I can't see, and or it's going to be really close to the. It just depends on what. But having
the reason why I'm giving this advice of having your tandems at the midpoint is because most of the DCs, the aisleways, between the trailers are particularly narrow, like some of the worst truck stops I've been to. And so if you have it at the midpoint, it will minimize the tail swing while still, allowing you a good good amount of maneuvering there. Where you can use the axles as kind of guidance.
Right.
The other thing that they teach you with I don't want to call it training, but on the onboarding, I know you spoke to, there was another driver who had just recently started with Walmart. You did on one of your live feeds about 2 weeks ago. Not the one with the weird feet guy, but the video before that. I didn't catch that live feed when it was live, but I watched the replay. It was amusing. But the live feed he did before that, he had a Walmart driver who came in and was talking about the experience and the backing test. It's crazy, and it's it's not like any kind of backing you normally do as an OTR driver. It's completely different what they test you on, and they teach you in that minimal amount of time to have that trailer straight and lined up before you're actually backing in between the trailers.
Well, yeah,
it's a lot easier to do that in the minimal amount of space you have to work with when your TAMs are at midpoint.
Sure, yeah.
If you have the space to work with it, all the way back is even better.
Yeah, I mean, I look. It all comes down to level of experience, how comfortable you are with the current. Like, because I remember when I first came. Let's just use RST for instance. When I came to RST, the first truck I had was that Lone Star. Okay, the International Lone Star. Truck. And that thing wouldn't turn for shit. You know, it was horrible turning radius.
Yeah, the Internationals have that long wheelbase.
Yeah. You know, but then I got into my Volvo, and it was like...
Which used to have shorter wheelbases.
Yeah.
It
was like driving a damn yard jockey truck. You know, it would turn on a dime. Where it would take me 3 or 4 pull-ups in the International. I could make one full swoop swing in the Volvo and get it in the hole, you know.
Yeah, I remember when I was with Knight, I had a Volvo, and Knight's Volvos were tiny.
Oh yeah.
I can't believe I lived out of that thing for my first year of driving, and then I went to a different company and I lived out of that truck for a while. But I remember though that Volvo, yeah, it could turn on a dime.
Oh yeah.
And then when I went to Pride Transport, I was in a Peterbilt first. No, I was in a Freightliner first, and that wasn't too bad. But then that truck broke down, and they moved me to a Peterbilt, and that was a whole different experience.
Oh yeah, you know. But like, there's so many different factors. You know, like I said, it's the training, the experience, knowing the characteristics of your truck, knowing what your truck can and can't do. You know, and you know, and like you said before, these trucks that have all these safety features. Like I remember, we had a truck at our company that had, you know, the front collision avoidance systems, which all trucks have, and he was driving bobtailed, and he was in the rain, and he hydroplaned just a little bit, right, and it kicked the back tires out. He was in the left lane, and he hydroplaned a little bit. And it kicked the back tires of the tractor out to the right, which pointed the truck towards the concrete barrier. And because the truck was pointed at the concrete barrier, the damn collision avoidance system kicked in and locked up all the brakes, which sent him sliding right into the damn barrier and bounced off the barrier, jumped up on the barrier, rode it for a little bit like a skateboard, and messed up the whole truck, you know, so... And you know, we could make a long list of things to do and not to do, and you know, it's all about, in a situation like that, what you know, make sure you're going the right speed for the road conditions. You know,
and you know that I gotta say, on that collision avoidance system thing is probably the biggest piece of junk when it comes to safety equipment.
It is
ever.
It is,
because it never will go off when you need to. Like, have you ever had I'm sure you've driven trucks with it. You ever had it go off when someone's like turning like into a driveway in front of you, and they slow down a lot?
Yep.
You still have, you know, like a mile of, not really a mile, but you know, you have a huge amount of space between you and them, but they slow down to like 5 miles an hour to turn to that driveway, and the collision avoidance thing is like, oh my God, 5 miles an hour, and it hits the brakes on you. It's like,
yep.
By the time it actually hit the brakes, though, they're already in the driveway, out of your way.
Yeah, I had, when I was at Night in the Freightliner that I had, the damn thing wasn't adjusted properly, and I took it to numerous shops, numerous, you know, terminals, and they adjusted it, quote unquote, but it never acted right. It was never right, and it used to, like, you know, get triggered from the road signs, the reflection of the light from road signs.
Road signs,
you know, it would start beeping, and then I was just like, well, better hold on, because this thing's going to lock up the brakes. And it did, and it sucked. So
the problem is like I said, when it triggers because of like a car turning into a driveway, but it doesn't actually lock the brakes or go off until after they're already in the driveway. Like, if you think about that from a long standpoint, it's like, if that car had actually been stopped there, the delay between when it actually triggers, that's not going to help you any.
No, yeah, and it sucks because if it's a situation where the road is slippery or covered in ice or whatever,
I've been terrified of that ever happening.
yeah,
I've never had it happen, but that's been one of my worst nightmare imaginations is having that system go off while I'm on an icy or snowy road.
I remember I was going through Dallas one time and it was raining real hard. I was in the middle lane and I hydroplaned and the tractor tires started to cut out towards the right. And I looked in the right lane, and thankfully, the person in the right lane saw what I was doing, and that I was losing it, and they moved over. They got up out of my way because I had to counter steer, and the truck steered itself along with the trailer into the right lane. You know, and had there been another truck there or something, or had there been a concrete barrier or whatever next to me in my right, I would have been screwed. I would have been in big trouble. But it was a situation where I was.
You were in Dallas and not Houston.
Well, it's a situation where I was going too fast for the road conditions.
Well, yeah, what I was saying just now was kind of a joke thing. I like to say because being a resident of Texas, I feel like I'm an expert on the way people drive around here. In San Antonio, the drivers are just plain stupid.
Not only that, but in San Antonio, there's freaking construction like that never, ever, ever ends. And
it's actually not too much going on right now, to be honest, except for the 1604 loop. But most of the rest of the city has been pretty much all finished by now.
Oh, well, that's a good thing. But, that's another thing, too. You get out there in them construction zones, and it's real, 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 real tight. You got to make sure.
There's a project in Austin that's going to last. I think they said, what did they say completion date was? 2027 or 2028, I think, something like that. They're adding like an express lane that trucks are not allowed on, and going from the south side of Austin to the downtown section. And they're also planning on some other additions there. They're going to be doing some eminent domain and destroying people's homes. Whole bunch of fun stuff.
Always good times.
Oh yeah, it's like that's gonna be wonderful. I'm glad Walmart let us use the toll road to go around Austin.
Yeah.
Was it the 45/130 toll road there? Yeah, I'll be using that because I'm not dealing with that traffic. Traffic is bad enough in Austin. Let's add some construction. The whole purpose of this project is to alleviate traffic, but for the next 5 years, when they start the project, it's gonna be hell.
Yeah, well, that's how it always is when it comes to
San Antonio drivers are really stupid. Houston drivers are really, really rude and aggressive. I tell people that are new to Texas, like if you're ever in Houston, whatever you do not turn your blinker on until the immediate moment that you're ready to change lanes. Because if you do, someone will speed up and sit next to you to prevent you from changing lanes. They won't speed up past you. They won't slow down behind you. No, they'll sit next to you.
Well, that's everywhere, though. That's everywhere. I'm telling you.
It's really bad in Houston, though. Anyone, you've been to Houston. You got, RST's based there out of the Tomball area. So I know you've been to Houston numerous times. You can't tell me that Houston's not worse than everywhere else.
I can tell you that, if I had to pick a spot for the worst inconsiderate drivers, it would have to be L.A. Okay?
L.A.? Yeah.
Yeah, L.A.
And that's another problem we have in Texas. We have a lot of California transplants coming from California. And they drive like they do in California here in Texas. And it's like, that doesn't work. Yeah, we don't drive like that here.
They're going to have to learn.
Yeah.
But
here's a way that I can identify the California transplants without even seeing their license plate. Like, because some of them have their Texas plates already, some of them don't.
Yeah.
But I can identify them like that by the fact that they love to yield to the on-ramp.
Oh, God. Yeah.
You remember that from California?
Yeah.
They do that out there. They'll slow down to the people getting on the freeway, and it's like, you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah,
and they do that. They've come to Texas now because you got Tesla and 20 other companies that moved to Texas, and plus we're cheaper than California, so everyone's coming to Texas, and especially the San Antonio, Austin area. And yeah, I've started noticing that in the past 2 or 3 years, more and more drivers that would do that. They go and hit the brakes for the on ramp. It's like, don't do that. If they can't get on the freeway at normal speed, too bad. They're driving cars. If I can do it in a truck, they can do it in a car.
You got.
So that's how I bought the California transit because that's a California trade right there.
You got Fat Man and Timothy Johnson and Andrew in here. They're like, just as bad here in South Florida. He says, you think Houston's bad? Go to Florida, and then Atlanta. And like I said, I've been everywhere.
Oh,
and
I drove to Miami one time in a truck, and I never want to do it again. There's no parking. I stopped. What's that one truck stop they have on the billboards?
The 595. 595 truck stop.
595 truck stop?
Yeah, 595.
I tried to stop there once, and I swear that was a junkyard with a few truck parking spots. There were vehicles that I swear have been there since the 60s.
Oh, I know. That place is it's a mess, that place. It's a complete mess.
It's like, how do you call it a truck stop? You got more trucks that are abandoned here than you do parking spots.
Yeah.
Then, they didn't have any actual available parking spots there, so they had me and like 10 other trucks use their little auxiliary lot that was like just outside the property.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're going to claim to be the largest truck stop in, what do they say, like west, on the western part of the West Coast, something like that, or no, East Coast? I forgot my compass directions. But yeah, they say like the largest truck stop on the East Coast, and it's all like, you may be the largest by property size, but you only got maybe like 30 parking spots.
Yeah, because I remember I've seen boats parked in a parking spot, and a lot of those,
vehicles that look like they're from the 70s.
A lot of those parking spots are from local day cab type guys, where they'll buy a spot, and they'll only have their tractor that they got to park in there, so they'll come in the morning and move their tractor out of that spot, put their car in there, and at the back of the spot they got boats and engines and all types of shit.
In the South Texas area, and especially over there in the Permian Basin with the oil fields, the oil workers do that all the time. The old parking spots. Yeah, you see that all the time. But
yeah, we got
vehicles that had like an inch thick layer of dust on them. It's like, has this thing been moved like ever?
We got a drop yard in Houston there off of right there by the other truck stops. There's a drop yard where Prime and Stevens Transport and a couple other companies use to drop their trailers, but that drop yard is
it's 90 something like that.
It's WW Roland is the name of it, and it's right there off of Gellhorn, and it's a nightmare because 90% of the drivers in there are all container drivers, and trying to swing a trailer into a spot, backing into a spot in that drop yard is. If you got a full-size truck with a sleeper and then a 53-foot trailer, it's damn near impossible. I remember one night I was in there trying to find a spot. I couldn't find a spot, and one of the guys that was working, they said, "Look, just drop your trailer wherever. We'll move it later." And seriously, because there was a few open spots in the drop yard, but I couldn't get the tractor and trailer into the spot without hitting something else. That's how tight it was, and that the problem with that is that once again people are inconsiderate and don't know how to park, and they'll take up 2 damn parking spots, or the trailer next to you will be crooked or what have you, and it's a fucking nightmare.
Oh yeah, you ever I know the answer to the question is more than likely going to be yes, so it's rhetorical. I'm saying, have you ever been to it? But that Petro up there in northern Colorado, the Johnson & Johnson truck stop.
Yeah, yep, that's a nice spot.
It's a nice place and all that, but they don't, except for the reserved area and a few small other part of it, they don't have any lines painted. And I swear, you take away the lines, and most truckers can't back straight to save their life.
Yep.
There are all sorts of crooked there. They're taking up way more space. You'll see like half a truck worth of space between each truck. It's like, if you all scoot it in just a little bit more, you could probably fit about 5 more trucks in this parking lot.
How about the White's truck stop, the big giant Petro on 81 in Virginia?
Over there in Virginia?
Yeah. Now you
Yeah, I
go
haven't
you
been
go
there
in
in a
there,
long time,
you
but
go
it's
in
a nice
there,
one.
and even though that place is friggin' huge,
Huge.
okay, you go in
The
there.
I-80 of the Northeast.
Yeah, you go in there after like 9, 10 o'clock at night, and it's a fucking it's a shit show. It's a
Yeah.
complete shit show. And there's a spot out in the back of the truck stop where it's all dirt, and if you could even get out there because you got all these guys illegally parking and making their own parking spots, it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
You won't even be able to make the turn to get out there because you're blocked, And that's another thing that sucks is you'll get out there to a spot, and then early in the day or whatever, and then by the morning 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, you're trying to leave and you can't fucking leave because you're blocked in.
How about that TA there over by Seattle? Oh no, I can top that one. I know even worse. It's not that. I haven't been there since they rebuilt it, but the Loves in Tacoma. You remember that before they rebuilt it?
Don't that place. I went in there for fuel one time, and I was like, "There's no way." I could barely get in there just to get the fuel. Forget about
Right?
Forget about parking.
I remember before they rebuilt it, the Google satellite image there actually had a snapshot of a truck backing into a spot, and I'm looking at this as like, how is this physically possible? Somehow drivers do it. Though, from what I was told, people were telling me, so like, if you ever park here, don't you dare go to sleep till you have someone on both sides of you.
Yep.
Because you're going to make sure that if they're going to make it in, you can spot them.
Yep.
You're going to lose a mirror or something.
Exactly. And the thing that sucks
I
too.
only parked there bobtail one time. I usually did not ever want to even go to that Love. Say, my preferred place in the Seattle area was the Mustard Seed truck stop.
Yeah.
Over there by the Costco DC, just south of Seattle.
Another thing that sucks about truck stop situations is you freaking you'll be in a spot and then the next guy will pull out or whatever, and then you won't, like I said, you might not be able to get out in the morning, and that's the problem with inconsiderate drivers, leaving you set up for to try to leave in the morning and you can't get out,
And that's becoming a bigger problem than it used to be nowadays. I mean, I've only been driving for 7 years now. You got 9 years that you were driving since you started driving?
Total of 10 and a half almost.
I was pretty close. I only started watching you when you were at night, so.
All I could say,
I catch you on a date.
Yeah, all I could say is that it with all that we just talked about, it all goes into your trip planning, and if you're gonna be pulling in somewhere for the night, to take that 10-hour break, you better get in there early and find a good spot to where you can get out in the morning. Especially if you're gonna get in the truck stop early, that means your 10-hour break is gonna be up, 3-4 o'clock in the morning. And if you're gonna get rolling at that time, like I said, you got
to be creative parkers that weren't there when you shut down.
Exactly. You got to make sure you can get out of that spot. You got to say, hey, okay, if I park here, is there gonna be somebody parked over there? You know what I'm saying? So you got to plan ahead and be smart enough to know where you're gonna mess up and where what's gonna give you trouble. And a lot of these truck stops, hell, a lot of these shippers and receivers, like especially in big cities, they're still not retrofitted for 53-foot trailers.
You mean like the TA and Petro there in Ontario?
That place is retro.
That place is a hot mess when it starts getting full.
Oh yeah, but like I remember one time when I had my Western Star, not the Western Star, the Lone Star. I was delivering to a place down in I think it was Fort Lauderdale, Miami area, but I did a video of it. It was called The Blind Side from Hell. And the guy told me, he's like, listen, take your time. We got a blind side in. Most truck drivers can't even do this. Because it was one of those blind sides where the tractor was going to end up being, offset to the trailer like this, And I said to the guy, like, look, I'll be fine. I know what I'm doing. He's like, all right, well, we're going to see. And it took me damn near 15 minutes to get, into this door. And he's like, the guy came out, he's like, I can't believe you pulled that off in 15 minutes. And I'm like, why? He's like, well, we've seen guys take hours and still not get it, you know? And there was another time where I was delivering down in Miami area, and I had to literally detach from the trailer once I was in the spot. Not before I had to have everybody move their friggin' cars out of the way on the road, you know, in order just to back in, period, you know? So there's still a lot of places in big cities that are not retrofitted for 53-foot trailers. They were just
famous for that.
Yeah, because they didn't come out with the 53-foot trailer until damn near 2000 and I don't know. It was mid 2000s when they came out with a 53-foot trailer, and there's
you have to ask your viewers because I have no idea.
I can't remember when the 50, but it wasn't. I think it was back in the 2000s when they came out with a 53-footer, and before that it was all 48s. You know. And that, you know, between 48 feet and 53 feet, you know, it's not that much, but it is when you're...
It's like your tandems. The difference between having tandems all the way back and all the way forward.
Exactly.
You know, that's only about 5-6 feet, but it can make a world of difference between how you're, you know, how much room you need to maneuver that trailer.
Yeah. Somebody comment. Somebody help.
To make a turn. I mean... You ever drive down in the New Orleans area? It's like you got to cut those turns super wide with these 53-foot trailers, or you're going to curb check.
Yes. Somebody comment below. Let me refresh my memory when the 53-foot trailer came into existence. You know, but you know, like there's still tons of places out there where you know if you're delivering into an inner city area, you know, especially these guys with these really nice Peterbilts and these long wheelbases and whatnot. And I've seen plenty of guys on YouTube where they're just out there struggling, you know, back and forth, you know, Mr. Beaning, you know, like Mr. Bean, back and forth, trying to get it in. And, you know, and it's all because most of these places still are not retrofitted to accommodate a 53-foot trailer, you know.
Says, according to Google, I Googled, when did 53-foot semi-trailers come out? And it says, in 1990, a truck safety law straightened out the state's frameworks and paved the way for modern 53-foot trailers to operate across state lines without separate permits.
Well, there you go. The 90s, then. Even further back.
And it's a Kiora question answer is saying right around 1989. But it was 1990s when they made the law that allowed them to be used, you know, multiple states across state lines.
Right. But yeah, you know,
without Google,
it all comes down to being prepared, you know, and knowing how to know when not to get out there on the road, you know, because like I said, you know, we would have less pileups and less situations with trucks being the culprit if guys would just be smart enough to not go out there and drive in these weather conditions. It's really that simple, you know. I mean, hell, if they're shutting down schools and they're shutting down public buildings and they're shutting down, you know, other places, that should tell you enough right there. Hey, look, the roads aren't safe, you know. I mean, even here in my town, you know, they shut the roads down for the dumbest, smallest little things. And as a driver, I say, what do they shut the roads down for? It's not that bad, but I've never driven a school bus before, but a school bus only has that single tandem, you know, and school buses, there's no way you're going to get traction in a snowy situation. There ain't enough weight on a school bus, first of all, and you only got that one set of wheels, and, you know, most of our school buses up here have those automatic chain deals that swing around underneath the wheels, but even still... Even having chains ain't going to guarantee that you're going to get traction. It's that simple, you know?
Pennsylvania probably doesn't shut down until the shit really hits the fan.
No, you'd be surprised, you know. New York and Pennsylvania are the first ones to say no trucks allowed during these weather conditions.
I meant for, like, the locals, like your school bus drivers, you know, your regular four-wheelers, you know. I meant in that sense of shutting down, like, Texas, you get a single snowflake comes down in San Antonio, and it's like the apocalypse is happening. They're like, "Oh my God, the world's going in!"
Yeah, and that's
the single snowflake.
That's the thing, you know. Like I said, we were talking about, you know, you got all these yahoos out there that think they can make it. You know, I remember one time I was in Jersey coming across the what bridge is that? The Bayonne Bridge, coming back from and I was empty, and it was real windy, and I thought for sure I was gonna get blown over, but thankfully I didn't, and I got to the Petro there in Bordentown on the Turnpike, and sure enough the bridge was shut down because a tractor trailer flipped over. You know.
Lucky.
Same situation, like whether you have wind, snow, rain, whatever it may be, if the road conditions are not feasible, you got to stop. You have to say to yourself, look, okay, I'm just going to stop. Because I would hate to be in a pileup. That would be the worst of the worst, because one, you're going to lose your job most likely. You're going to get hurt. Somebody else is going to get hurt, God forbid, killed. And then
say that was preventable. You should have shut it down.
And not only that, if you wreck your truck and now you're stranded on the fucking side of the road, freezing your balls off, I mean that's got to be a messy situation. So
yeah, could be worse. And then you get those drivers that are like driven into like rivers and stuff. There's that. What was it last year? They had what was it? I think it was the Crete. No, not Crete. It was a CRST truck. I think it was in like Iowa, and it drove off the bridge and into the river. And it was wintertime, and so like it was a relatively shallow river, but still, that must have been a really. I bet there's some shrinkage happened from that situation.
Did you see that one video?
Land your tractor into a river.
Did you see that one video of the guy driving? He hit the grass, and then he ended up driving down onto the next road, where there was an interchange, and he ended up driving down underneath the underpass. It was two. I think it was two Indian guys. One was in the sleeper, one was driving. Obviously, he hits the grass because he was falling asleep. Couldn't get out of the grass, and then he drove right. He drove off the embankment and then down into underneath the interchange. And I mean, just hitting the grass is one thing, but then seeing, oh shit, now I'm gonna go straight down. They got the dash cam footage from it, and it was, it made me pucker up just watching that video.
Did you catch? It's a horrible video to watch. I don't recommend it with a weak stomach. Look it up. It's actually on YouTube. There's a dash cam video of another driver. He was going through that Wolf Creek Pass there in Colorado. Like he was going up the mountain, and he caught on his dash cam another truck that I guess lost his brakes and literally drove off the cliff.
Oh yeah, I've seen it. I've seen plenty.
That video is so hard for me to watch, and I can watch horror movies and whatever, it doesn't bother me. But like in my head, I'm thinking to myself, it's like of the driver who drove off the cliff. He didn't survive, obviously. He didn't make it, and it's like, what were his last thoughts? Like,
oh God, yeah. I mean,
did he experience any pain? Was it instant death? Was it agonizing? I mean, it's just so many thoughts go through my head when I watched that. It's crazy things that we kept on dash cams.
Oh yeah, you'd be surprised. Well, what you can see out there, and I'm on YouTube right now on my phone looking for that video clip that I was telling you about, and I'm looking at all these other clips that I haven't even seen yet, and it's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
I know. Those of us who are usually better drivers are always touting about how we should have a dash cam. Right now I only have the one that Walmart forces us to have. The was Lytics there. I have a personal one at home, but the mount is broken, so I got to get a new one here. I was doing some research to find a good, nice 4K one. I was wishing I had one in my truck this morning. But I was telling you earlier when I first came in this video thing. There was as I was driving up, there was a four-wheeler started. I was in the fast lane, and the four-wheeler lost control and literally started sliding right in front of me, maybe quarter mile in front of me at best, and he slid all the way over to the far right side into the grass.
That's crazy.
Like he didn't hit anyone. It didn't look like he got hurt or anything, but it's like, holy cow, I wish I had a dash cam for that. That would have been one of those momentous, one of those moments there.
Hell, I did. I have it on. I have one of my videos where a pedestrian. I was in Phoenix, and a pedestrian. We were in stop and go traffic at a stoplight. Pedestrian was walking in between the trucks and the cars, and he walked right in front of my truck. And I have it on my dash cam video. I put it up. It's on YouTube, and I'm watching him, and I'm like, and he was getting ready to walk in front of my truck and come out of front of my truck, and he was running, and he was literally this close to being creamed by a car coming up in the turning lane, and if he wouldn't have stopped and looked, he would have been dead like instantly.
He would have had to come with the giant turkey baster.
Oh yeah, it would have been a mess.
But suck him up off the road.
Yeah. But anyway,
yeah,
well, look,
I've seen some craziness there. I've seen, the sport bikers that would come up alongside your truck there, and get up next to you there. It's like, that is probably the biggest blind spot I have on this truck. If I didn't hear you coming up, I wouldn't have known you were there.
Yep. It's a mess, bro. I mean, and you see it happen too much.
Yeah.
Let me see here. Let's see if we can find this fucking...
It's amazing how we're scrutinized for safety so much, and yet the amount of unsafe practices we as drivers see on a daily basis, whether it be the four-wheelers with the phones in their hands, because us being high up, we see everything.
Here, I found the video here. Let me show you guys real quick. Let me show you this.
Right.
Watch this.
That button. There we go. Now I can see your screen a little bit bigger. Really blurry looking for me, but...
Well, just watch. Watch that lower screen. You can see it's the grass.
Oh, I think I did see that video.
Watch.
Yep, I did see that video. Yeah.
But look at the guy. Look at how he bounces around in the sleeper. The guy that was sleeping, I mean, that's crazy if you think about it. I mean...
Yeah.
Watch the guy in the sleeper.
And he gets up afterwards. He's all like, "What the hell?"
Could you imagine? I mean, even the driver. It's like, what do you do? Like, oh shit, I'm sleeping and now I'm hitting the grass. Do I drive into oncoming traffic?
The guy you were teaming with on the Alaska run have something like that happen? Sort of, not as an accident, but like the road was so bumpy that it was either you or your teammate tumbled out of bed.
Yeah, it happened to me.
The Alaska Highway.
I wasn't up on. I didn't go to Alaska, but this happened way back when. I think I was in training with James when it happened to me. James was driving, and I don't remember what happened.
You weren't with James. It was when you were doing those with the. Maybe it was Trainer James and his teammate. Yeah, that's right. Because you didn't go to Alaska. It was one of Trainer James' videos that he was talking about when him and the guy he was teaming with initially, when they were doing those Washington to Alaska Walmart runs.
Yeah.
And initially he was teaming with that one guy.
Yeah.
And talking about how bad the roads were, and it was either him or his teammate literally got shooken out of bed.
Oh yeah, I remember one time I was sleeping, and this is back when I was in training. And James was driving, and he had to jump on the brakes, and I rolled right out of bed, and was in between the shifter and his legs. I looked up, and I'm like, "Good morning." He's like, "Are you all right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm all right." But what happened? He's like, "I had to stop short. There was a car that cut me off." I can't remember what happened, but I remember I just rolled.
You had a bad experience with ending up nearby the shifter on your back.
Yeah. Well, I broke
my bad history of that.
I broke my ribs at one time, falling out of the top bunk. Trying to. But yeah, they say.
I have to imagine that you have never looked at Armor All at Walmart in the same way ever since that.
Never.
Incident.
And I love using Armor All. Armor All's fine. It's the shit that I don't know what these guys used. They used like pig grease, Because everything was just sloppily. It was just slippery. I mean, the whole.
Trying to make it look pretty and all that, but.
Oh, it looked pretty, but it was like the whole truck was like an ice skating rink. I don't know what kind of polish they used or whatever they used. Too much of it, But yeah, that's how I slipped and fell and busted my ribs. You know.
Walmart tells us not even to use Armor All, like, because we're supposed to clean the trucks. They don't say it's spotless, but we're supposed to keep them clean, for the next drivers.
Yeah.
When we're on a program, we have the same drivers we share the same trucks with, so they tell us, we have a cleaning kit, Windex, Clorox wipes, all-purpose cleaner. You just to basically clean the truck, make it look nice,
Right.
And they strictly say, do not use Armor All.
Yeah, well, Armor All's not, especially, like I've seen guys put it on their pedals, and then their feet are sliding off their pedals, forget it. It's just a mess. But anyway, look, I'm gonna get out of here. I want to thank you for tuning in. For the rest of you guys, next time.
Too shy.
Yeah, next time, click the link and join in the conversation. Me and Mr. Colonel over here have been just chatting it up, making good conversation for you guys. But the next time you guys,
how long have we been on this video call? Did it say?
Yeah, we've been going at it for over an hour now. I don't know how long it's been, but
got an hour or so of time there.
I've been live for over an hour. So the next time you guys,
you went live like just before I went to the bathroom. And I came back. I was like, oh, it's a live video. Hey.
Yeah, it says we've been streaming for 102 minutes. So next time we go live, make sure you guys click the link and join in the conversation. But Colonel, I do appreciate you joining in tonight, and make sure you stay tuned for the next one. Okay.
Yep, I'll keep the world updated on what's going on, if I ever get out of here.
Well, you be safe and you stay warm there, driver.
Got that bunk heater going right now. It's warm and toasty in the truck.
All right, we'll talk to you soon, brother.
You too.
Bye. Later. But anyway, you guys, make sure you're staying safe out there. Make sure you're prepared. Make sure that you got, what you need in order to be successful, okay? And don't be afraid to say, hey, look, I got to shut this shit down, because it's not worth, the load is not worth your life, it's not worth somebody else's life, and it's not worth your career, okay? You're not going to be a hero, it's at the end of the day, it's not going to matter, So be safe, be smart, be prepared, okay? And thanks for watching. Make sure you hit the like button on your way out. See you guys on the next one, okay? I'm going to get out of here. I'm pretty exhausted. It's been a long day.